She banged on my front door like it was on fire, yelling, "Open up! This is HOA business." I stepped outside, coffee in hand, and before I could even ask what she wanted, she waved a stack of papers in my face. "You're being fined for having a dangerous animal on your property. A dog, big, aggressive, unregistered." I blinked. "Karen, I don't even own a dog." She smirked like she had caught me in some grand lie. "Don't play games." "I have witnesses. 3 of them saw it in your yard last night." I laughed, and that's when her eyes went cold. "Oh, you think this is funny?" "We'll see who's laughing when the cops arrive." That's when I noticed 2 things. First, her so-called witnesses were her friends from down the street, all standing in a little huddle by the sidewalk, whispering and pointing. Second, there was a clipboard in her other hand, with my address already circled in red ink. I took a sip of my coffee, keeping my voice calm. "Karen, you're wasting your time. There is no dog." Her jaw tightened. "You can't lie to me. The HOA doesn't tolerate liars." Then, right there in my driveway, she pulled out her phone, dialed 911, and said loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear, "Yes, officer. I'm at 242 Pine Creek. We have a dangerous animal situation, and the owner is refusing to cooperate. Send animal control immediately." Every neighbor within earshot turned their heads. I felt heat rise in my chest, not from embarrassment, but because I realized something. She wasn't just making a scene. She was setting me up. I glanced past her, toward the sidewalk, and that's when I spotted the real twist. One of her witnesses was holding a leash, but there was no dog attached. The leash swung back and forth, empty, as if mocking me. I pointed at it. "Where's the dog, genius?" The man holding it, a tall, wiry guy I'd seen mowing Karen's lawn last week, froze for a second. Then he stammered, It ran off when you opened the door." Karen didn't even blink. "See? Proof you can't control it." I almost laughed again, but my gut told me not to. Something was off and way off. Then I caught a glimpse of movement across the street. A kid, maybe 12, was peeking out from behind his porch railing, holding a camera. Karen followed my gaze and stiffened. "Don't look over there," she snapped, stepping into my path like she owned my property. "The HOA has all the evidence we need." I leaned in just enough so only she could hear. "You're making a mistake." She smirked. "No, I'm making an example." That's when the sound of sirens started growing louder, echoing between the houses. Her little group straightened up, like they were about to watch me get hauled off in cuffs. The first police cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. But the second vehicle wasn't a police car. It was a black SUV I recognized instantly. My stomach tightened, because the man stepping out of it wasn't just anybody. It was my brother, and he was wearing his sheriff's badge. Karen's smug grin faltered the moment she saw him. "Morning," my brother said, stepping between us. His voice was calm, but there was a steel edge in it. "Someone here reported a dangerous animal?" Karen straightened her shoulders, suddenly all business. "Yes, officer. This man," she jabbed her finger at me, "is harboring an aggressive dog. Multiple witnesses saw it. It's a threat to the community." My brother tilted his head, looking at me like he was trying not to laugh. "Funny. I've been to this house plenty of times. Never seen a dog." Karen crossed her arms. "Maybe you weren't looking hard enough." He pulled a small tablet from his SUV, tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward her. "This is the county's pet registration database. No dog listed for this address, not even a goldfish." Karen's eyes darted to her friends. They all suddenly found the pavement fascinating. I decided to push. Maybe she's confused. Maybe she's thinking of her own yard. Her face flushed red. I don't have to stand here and be insulted." "Actually," my brother cut in, "you do, because making a false police report is a criminal offense." Karen's mouth opened, then shut again. The sirens had stopped now, and the other officers were listening closely, a few even smirking. And just when I thought it couldn't get better, the kid across the street shouted, "I got the whole thing on video," and started walking over. Karen's head snapped toward the kid, panic flashing across her face. "You put that camera away," she barked, marching a few steps in his direction. The boy didn't flinch. "It's my phone. My property. And my mom says you've been lying about people for years." His voice carried, and a few neighbors stepped out onto their porches, curious. Karen turned back to my brother, trying to regain control. "This is harassment. I'm the HOA president. I have the authority to. No, you don't. He cut her off, holding up his badge. You don't have any legal authority outside your little committee meetings. And you sure as hell can't fabricate crimes. She scoffed, but her voice cracked. You're just protecting him because you're related. Maybe, he said with a half smile. But the video will protect him too. And guess what? That video's now evidence. The kid handed his phone to one of the officers who played the clip out loud. Karen's voice blared for everyone to hear. We'll say we saw the dog. Just act scared. The crowd's murmurs turned into outright whispers of disbelief. Her friends shuffled backward like they were trying to melt into the pavement. I watched Karen's confidence crumble, her eyes darting between the officers and the neighbors filming her humiliation. She tried to speak, but my brother raised a hand. Karen, he said slowly, I think it's time you came with us. And then, as the cuffs clicked around her wrists, one of her witnesses made a mistake. He muttered, what about the other plan? My brother's head snapped. Toward him. Other plan? The man froze like a deer in headlights, his eyes darting to Karen, who was now glaring at him with pure venom. There's no other plan, he mumbled, but his voice shook. My brother stepped closer. That's not what you just said. The guy swallowed hard, glancing at the crowd. It's nothing. Just HOA stuff. Try again, my brother said, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. The man hesitated, then let out a nervous laugh. Fine, she told us that if the dog thing didn't work, we'd find something in his garage. Something illegal. And plant it there. Gasps rippled through the neighbors. I felt my blood run cold, and not from fear, but from the sheer audacity of it. Karen exploded. Shut up! Do you want us both in jail? Both? My brother repeated, raising an eyebrow. Sounds like a confession to me. The man's shoulders slumped. She said she'd get me out of my HOA fines if I helped her. That's all? I didn't even want to. Karen tried to lunge at him, but the cuffs yanked her back. You traitor! She screamed. That's when the second officer stepped forward, his hand on his radio. Dispatch, we're gonna need a second transport unit. We've got another suspect. As they started leading the man away, Karen twisted toward me, her voice dripping venom. This isn't over. You think you've won, but you have no idea what's coming. I leaned in just enough so she could hear me over the murmurs. You're right, Karen. I have no idea, but you're gonna have plenty of time to tell me all about it. In court, Karen's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of something new behind them. Fear. She opened her mouth like she wanted to hurl one last insult, but the officer guiding her gave a gentle push toward the cruiser, cutting her off. The crowd was still buzzing, phones out, recording every second. Across the street, Mrs. Patel, who'd lived here for 20 years, shook her head and said just loud enough for everyone to hear, about time someone stopped her. That got a few nods and even a chuckle from the neighbors. My brother stayed behind as the other officers loaded Karen and her accomplice into separate cars. You okay? He asked, his voice quieter now. I nodded, but there was still tension in my shoulders. I'm fine, just didn't expect her to take it this far. He gave a short laugh. You'd be surprised how far some people will go when they think they're untouchable. As we talked, the kid with the camera came back over. I sent the video to your email, he said, in case she tries anything else. I thanked him, but before I could say more, a neighbor I barely knew walked up holding something in his hand. This was sitting in the alley behind your house, he said, passing me a small brown paper bag. Inside was a lock-picking set, brand new. My brother took one look at it and sighed. Looks like they weren't just planning to plant something. They were planning to break in first.